All right, we're back. We are COMP308, Emerging Technologies in the Winter 2017 semester at Centennial, and we are week 10, part 1 of our broadcast. We're going to start talking about, we had this part of the semester, week 10 or so, it's always like projects. And the next 4 weeks are going to be worth 50% of your marks. That's what happens. I've already put up the final project scaffold out, if you think about it. But what I want you to do, first of all, is up online. I'm just going to go up on eCentennial here for a second. Please join me on eCentennial. Let's talk about this together. So I'm just going to sign in. So on eCentennial, under Emerging Technologies, we have a bunch of groups, right? What I want you to do, because this project requires at least, a couple of people. I really highly don't recommend you work on your own. This one, that you sign up for your own groups. Now, if you notice that there is group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 25 or 30 or something like that, won't be that many at the end, but I want you to pick a group with you and your partners. I will accept groups as large as 6, right? Yep. The reason for that is because it's pretty heavy duty, right? I know there's some people that I know, Tyler, I know that Mohammed was looking for you to join his group, right? So I think he's already put himself on there. So look for the group that he's on and then see if you can join. It's auto sign in, right? So if you sign up now, you're good to go. This will be open for those people that are up live and who are watching me remote till Tuesday. After that, the group selection will close. And if you don't have a group, tell me about it, because there is no way to submit your projects without being part of a group. Okay, even if you're a group of 1, the process is you sign up for your group, and then you get there's 4 Dropboxes that we're part of. So, example, let's look at group number 2. And group number 2, if I looked at the members for group number 2, I can see that Aaron and Omid are working together for this one. And the Dropboxes associated with this one, if you look at, go back to groups, 4 Dropboxes. There's project part 1, project part 2, project part 3, and the final presentation. Now I will be modifying project part 1, and I'll put on the details for the final project up there today. All right. I'm just in the process of modifying it because Aaron had a request that he came up with. And I will accept requests from you as well if you wanted to customize your project. It rarely happens. Thank you. But these are the project timelines. So next week, starting Friday of next week, is the first deliverable. And then every Friday until the final presentation, which will be on the Saturday, the 22nd, if I'm not wrong, is your last deliverable. So for the next 4 weeks, keep in mind that there'll be, you'll be delivering something every week. Okay. Now you need to combine with somebody else, right? So please don't attempt this project on your own. I don't recommend it at this point. Seriously, I think it's just too much. I'm not saying that it's undoable. I just think it's a lot of work, right? Now, there's going to be always somebody who comes to me and says, I work alone. Just like, that old thing we talked about when it came to The Incredibles. He's like, hey, man, I want to work with you. He's like, no, I work alone, right? And he's a superhero, right? And you guys are superheroes too. But I'll tell you right now, this project is going to kill you, right? So please don't work alone on this one, all right? We get together with a group of heroes to do this thing, all right? 6. Now, there's a proviso to this, and I have to talk about the group as large as 6 and what they do. I want you to assign yourself roles. This semester is a little different. So when you assign yourself a role, someone on the group must be the de facto project manager, someone who I'm going to go to. You do your first submission. When you write your first submission, that project manager is going to be in charge of scheduling. So what is the schedule going to be like for your team? What's the deliverable going to be like? When are you going to get together? When are you going to meet? How long are the meetings going to be? How are the, what are going to be said in the meetings? What the outcome of the meeting? What are the deliverables? Of the project manager, right? So he or she has to be organized. And so I would recommend picking somebody who is, if you elect yourself as the project manager, it's a lot of responsibility. I will be coming to you every single week. And starting next week, when I say come to class, I will check your work. I will mark your work in class, and it'll be done with you. And I'll start with the project manager. I'll say project manager. I'll say Ali. Let's say Ali is the project manager. I'm just making this up, right? So Ali, tell me what happened this week. How did it go? And show me your work. And then Ali will pull it up. He'll have it ready for me, right? Ready for me. And then he's going to say, here's the stuff that we got ready for week 1, right? And we're on time. Here's the team. This is what we're all doing, right? But if he's done that, he satisfies his requirements because he should know who's doing what. So project manager or producer, if you want to call it another way, if you're on the game side, project managers are called producer from a game development perspective. So the producer or the project manager is one hat, okay? Now, if there's only 2 people, they're going to have to wear many hats. That's why I'm saying 2 people team or anything less than 3. I recommend higher. Some people will decide to do that because they don't work well with others. I don't play nice with other people, so I'm just going to work by myself, right? And that's perfectly fine. Hat number 2, engineer. You're the person who is going to be the coder, the primary engineer, whoever that is, right? So someone who is responsible for the code base, primarily responsible. So there might be assistant engineers, people that are going to help out. I mean, with a group of 6 engineers, right? Someone who's assisting, and you can do pair programming that way. The 2 people that are actually going to come up with a code base for this thing, right? So project manager, engineers, right? The engineer, when I talk to them, they're going to show me the code base. They're responsible for the GitHub repo, project manager, all right? So the engineer is responsible for the code repo, the GitHub repo, because they're going to be the ones that are using it, right? Repo is going to be them, right? So if the engineer doesn't have the GitHub repo in their name, they get 0. Sorry, right? It's responsibility of everyone to contribute in this project, right? We're going to be more organized this time because once I don't do it, then what's going to happen is someone's going to ride the coattails like a cowboy, right? We don't have any room for cowboys, only heroes in this course. Because that way there's everything up to 6, depending on what the project is, right? So that's number 2, the engineer. 3rd, designer, right? The designer is going to take care of the design of the website, wireframes, the color scheme, swatches, the style guide, all the CSS responsibility, how working, right? All that kind of stuff is responsibility of the designer. That person's going to also write heavily into the external document next week. Next week, we do need a project manager for sure, an engineer, and a designer. Those hats have to be worn by somebody in your team, okay? Absolutely, because those are all due next week. So those are the 3. The other person that you might want to need is someone who is going to be a tester, QA tester, if you want to talk about someone like that person. Someone who takes care of documentation in general, right, and does testing. So next week, you will have a testing requirement. Has your site been tested? Show me your tests. Like, so did it work? Did you get any screenshots of what's happening so far? Because next week, one of the requirements are and register. And I'll show you the requirements in a second. So those 4 hats and others that you can think of can be multiplied. So a team can have a couple of manager, a couple of engineers, a designer, that's 4, right? So that's 5. And I might have an assistant project manager / engineer or whatever, at 6, right? That's what I'm saying, up to 6. Now, for you to qualify to have 6, you better have a heavy-duty project, and we're going to talk about which ones they are, all right? There's ones that are easier, and the ones that are lighter, or heavier. Let's talk about it. All right, so what does this thing look like? I'll put this document up shortly. It was up. I took it down because I had to modify it. So the deliverables are as follows. Next week, you're going to come up with a project concept and site security for your project, no matter what it is, right? The first draft of your external document and initial project setup structure. Again, those 2 things, look at that. right there. There's someone who's in charge of the external documentation. That's going to probably be the designer, right? And initial project setup is going to be by the engineer, right there. Those two things, right? Landing page setup styled, right? And GitHub and cloud repo, cloud provider, right? All that stuff is going to be taken care of by next week, right? And that's Friday, March 31st. That's why you need not do this on your own. You've got lots going on right now, right? So if you try and do this on your own, you're going to miss the deadline, right? Which would be very bad. That's for 10% of your final project. Then, week after, your main functionality, your first runnable, if you're someone who's in game design, runnable, or your first release, right? Call it your, in this particular case, your alpha release. All right, will be due the week after. Most of the functionality is there by your alpha, okay? And the database structure is also intact and working, right? Now you can choose between, and I'll talk about this later again, SQL database of some kind. So you can use DocumentDB on Microsoft. You can use MLab. You can also use Firebase, which I'm going to show you today. 3 options, totally viable. You cannot use a SQL Server. Please don't use SQL Server or any kind of database. This is not the exercise here, right? Because we're in emerging technologies. Okay, so I'm not going to accept a regular kind of database. I won't even accept SQLite. So if you're someone who wants to do something on mobile, won't be acceptable in this case. Not in this iteration. Okay, so that's next week. The week after is your final version, and your external document will be completed. Your finishing touches, anything else that you couldn't do on week 2, the second week, second part 2, whatever, it will be due on the final week. I will again be reviewing everything you're doing every single week. So whenever we get together, part of it's going to be what we're going to be talking about that week. It's a topic of discussion. There will be at least an hour of us getting together, me getting together with your teams, project manager and the engineer and the designer and everybody else who's the testers on what everyone has done of the next 4 weeks, starting next week, okay? If you're not in class, what happens then? You better have a representative here, right? If you don't have a representative here and your name is not on the docket, right? There is no handing things in electronically starting next week and not being part of the team. If you, let's say, for example, I'm going to use Eddie for, forgive me. So Eddie is working with Selena right next to me, so I'm using you, right? Hey, Jonathan's also part of the team, right? Yeah, Jonathan, right? I'm rolling the dice here. I'm putting these 3 random people together, okay? And the 3 of you are together. And let's suppose that Eddie is the engineer, Selena is the project manager, and Jonathan is the designer, right? But Jonathan can't make it to class because he's sick. He has to work that day by chance. He's a shift that came in, and you want to take it because he's going to make some money, right? Selena and Eddie come into class that day, and they say, okay, we worked on it with Jonathan. Selena, I'm talking to Selena primarily because why? She's the project manager, right? And I'm going to say, okay, tell me what you did. And so she says, we got together on this day. Here's what we did. Here's our deliverable for this week, right? Jonathan did this. Eddie did this. I did this. Okay, check. We're good to go. Everyone gets their marks. Good to go. Even if Jonathan wasn't here, he's still being represented by his team. What happens if nobody from the team shows up? They all get 0 next week. Just telling you no. I mean, there's no ways around this thing. For the next 4 weeks, you all need to be here, right? Some aspect of you. I don't want to see one person out of the 5 people be here. If I see that, I'm going to be very concerned, right? No one gives a crap about what's happening except for that one person, right? I need to see the majority of the team members intact and in place. Now, what if you can't, right? What if you have other things going on? What if we made other agreements before we started this course? Because I have some agreements in place with some people. They have disabilities. They have other things going on, things that are serious in their life. It's on paper, that they can't be here or whatever. That's fine, but you still need to be represented by your team. You have to be part of a team. You cannot fire this off alone. Someone who works remotely all the time, and I'm telling you, people for the people that are watching right now, and come in or not be represented next week, you will get 0. All right, so just letting you know. Are we clear about that? It's not because I want to be a hard ass. That's not why I'm doing this. It's because Firebase, Angular, Node, Express. This new technology is hard. You're going to run into problems. You're going to run into design problems. You're going to run into this stuff. I need to give you some workshop time in order for you to do it in class, as well as an opportunity for you to get together. This is not a project class, so I can't make it a project class. Make you more successful when it comes to your final project, right? And the way to do that is to stay organized. I'm not telling you that, because if I left you, all right, and I remember what's happened before in the past. You guys worked with me before, all of you almost, right? What's happened traditionally is this. Tom, I need another day. Tom, I need another week, right? Tom, guess what? My team couldn't get together this week. We had a catastrophe, right? 3 of my members didn't decide to work with me. Tom, I can't work with this guy anymore. Tom, can I move from team A to team B? Right? None of that stuff is acceptable this time around. Whatever team you've decided to stay on is your team. Play well with everybody, or you can't play well, they don't like you, they don't like them. Don't join the team. Work on your own if that's what you choose to do. That means you need to come in next week. If you're a team 1, guess what? You're coming in, right? So you've done these 3 weeks. Let's move forward a little bit without the doom and gloom. You've done well, these 3 weeks coming forward. And the final week, what are you doing? Some of you may think, is there an exam in this course? No, there's not. There's no exam. However, there is a final presentation where the team will finally be required to come together. So people who are remote and can't make it or whatever, unless there's some kind of extraneous circumstance, or unless I've made previous agreements with you, you're coming in day, right? And you're signing up for your presentation. The presentations are going to happen all day that day. So please make yourself available throughout the day, right? Now, if you're working with someone from another section, which is also possible, I'm allowing anybody to work with anybody from this section. You got to make yourself available where most of the people live. So if most of the people live in section 1, guess what? You're going to go to section 1 to present. If most of the people are in section 2, like in your group I'm talking about, then you're going to section 2. So don't tell me you're not available for section 1 or section 2. If you're not available, then don't do that cross-section stuff. Stay within your own section and you're good to go. My responsibility, it's yours. I'm also not going to force you on other people or find a group for you or any of that kind of stuff. That's your responsibility. You don't get marks for this assignment, period. There is no way to do it. You have to either sign up as a group of 1 or, like I said, or sign up with somebody. I highly recommend that you at least have 2 people on your group, or 3, right? 3 would be the good number to start with, because look what I just said. Engineer, project manager, designer. Those are the basics. And you can do some QA among the 3 of you. No problem. Fireable. All right? 5 gets a little unwieldy unless you have enough coding to pass on between 2 people. Pair programming. You get together with somebody and together you make your code base. That's doable. 5. 6, only if there's so much work to do with QA testing and organization that the project manager needs a little bit of help, or there's other stuff going on where they need to sub in organizational perspective, paperwork, that kind of stuff that needs to be done over the next 4 weeks. Like, for example, your PowerPoint presentation needs to be also created for the last day. So that's where I'm saying I will accept certain groups. If you sign up for a group and I see 6 people, everyone must have a role and we must discuss it next week. If I don't agree, that group is going to be torn apart, right, into 2 different projects. There should be really no reason for a group of up to 6. I've put it there just because there's always some people that love to work together, right? And they produce really well, right? I'm telling you, they produce really well, and they want to work together in a team. So what are you building? I'm talking a lot about the organizational stuff. Okay, so here are the 4 things that I've got so far. One of them is new. I'm kind of building this up right now. A construct, Aaron and Omid have made a recommendation. I've accepted. We're just writing up the details right now. It should be up online later on today. But I'm recording it so you'll see everything. So again, up to 6 members or on your own, utilizing your accumulated knowledge of the mean stack, MongoDB, Express, Node as an optional front end. Notice that Angular is optional, right? You'll create a web app from one of the following app templates. A survey site. I want you to think about something like SurveyMonkey, right? SurveyMonkey is a very popular and profitable survey site. And what you can do with it is you can make surveys that allow you to do things like, surveys for feedback, surveys for different kind of survey services that are professional, educational, all kinds of stuff. Before even a survey like in the school, you know, when you say, I agree or disagree, multiple choice survey, they can do those kind of surveys as well. You can have other kinds of surveys. All I want you to do is create, have the user be able to go in, sign in, surveys, and create 1 or 2 different surveys that he can make live and active page, the main landing page, that anyone can answer. So you make a survey, you own that survey, some other person can come in and answer that survey, reporting on that survey. Are you hearing the complexity? That's the lowest level survey site of complexity. Okay, this is something that's easy. Remember, Eddie was saying 5, 6 people. Why? Because of this. Because you need horsepower for this one. Because it's the end of semester and you got a lot of other classes going on, and meeting is tough, but so is not enough time. Right? That's why we group people together. Although I have to say, some people work really well alone, right? So, you know, really, if you really want to work alone, please talk to me afterwards. I highly don't recommend it. I think it'll just destroy you. See what I'm talking about in a bit. All right, so survey site is that, and I'll go into details in a second. A brackets tournament web app. Okay, what is that? Hey, you love playing games. There's a site I'd like you to go to, and if you want to sign up for free, it's there. Something called Challenge, and actually has a bunch of stuff. I made one today. I made the COMP308 finals, right, where I had CC was the winner. That's actually, I spelled it wrong, right? It's stuff. Notice there's a graphical component to this one, right, where you can kind of make, you know, you play a couple games. Let's say you like to play Overwatch, and you have a couple of teams in Overwatch, and you come together. You have a private tournament, and what you do is, depending on which teams win, they progress to the next bracket. It's round 1, semifinals, and finals. Notice that each round is even numbered. I'm asking you to make even numbers of 8 or 16. 32 would be crazy, but if you really wanted to, keep it even. Why am I asking you to keep it even? Because imagine these people here, right? And I have one person who's not fighting or competing in the first round. What's going to happen to them, right? So they go to the second round automatically, right? But now there's 5 people in there, and one of them is going to get a bye. Yeah. Or maybe we have to do a couple of rounds in the semifinals where they fight each other, right? It becomes complex. Let's leave it out, right? Let's make it so there's 8 or 16. This is a prototype. Different later. If you really want to add complexity to this, you can program it all another time. Right now, I'm only looking for 8 or 16, which means if you're 8, it means there's only 3 rounds, right? If it's 16 competitors, that's 4 rounds, right? So the first round would be here, over here. It would pare down to 8, then go to 4, and finally to the top 2 with a round for bronze match, right? That's what I'm asking for. So you get first, second, third, and fourth place. There is a graphical component, and be careful, because once you do graphical components that automatically update and so on, you're talking about additional complexity. These things, these options in terms of complexity and difficulty. As we go forward, they become more and more difficult and complex. The one that we're working on today with Aaron that he suggested is a movie TV tracker that's mobile, right? That uses Ionic, a backend that's Ionic, right? So basically what you do is you use the IMDb unofficial API, and you create a search bar. You search for movies. It returns movies in a JSON format. For example, in the movie, the name, the genre, the actors, and so on, all in a list. You add to favorites. It creates a favorites list, right? And from there, you manage your favorites lists, your favorite movies, and so on. And there's other additional details that happen, but it's all on a mobile platform using Firebase, and it's cross-compatible with Android and desktop. Some part, yeah, some part of it. Yes, but we're going to add some. It seems easier, but you're going to see that it's actually quite complex, the details, especially when it comes to typing your search in. It's going to be automatically updating, 2-way data binding, using Angular as a front end. There's not an option there for the movie TV tracker to not use Angular, right? Because it uses Ionic. Ionic 2 and Angular 2 are kind of together. So if you want to do that, it'll be up by this afternoon. This one is a smaller one that can probably be handled by about 3 or 4 people if you do it right. Aaron and Omid are going to try and tackle it with 2 of them. I think it's pretty crazy for them to try and do that with 2 people. Maybe, right? So talk to them if you're interested in joining or whatever. But now, if you want challenge, and if you have a group of 5, 4, then you want to do this one. This is for challenge. This is the portfolio piece. All right. This is if you want to really push yourself to do something that's. And I've had people do this in the past, and there's no bonuses for doing any of these. This is which one you want to do from a challenge perspective. Incident management web app. Okay. What I want you to think about there's an incident management. If I say incident management software, my first thought, of course, is something called it's not here, Remedy, right? Which is the old system, Remedy by BMC, if I'm not wrong. They're the people that originally had it made. Yeah, it's incident and problem resolution. Now, I'm not expecting you to make this, okay? But the way it works is this. Incident management software is used in some kind of help desk, service desk kind of environment. So someone calls up, right? And Jonathan is the service desk analyst, right? And so Jonathan takes the call. Let's say, for example, issue with his computer, right? And let's suppose that IT here, the IT department at the school fixes your own computers as well. Not just the computers that we have here, but they can, for a small fee, let's say it was included in your student fee, we're making this up, that they'll take care of your computer too. Up and says, Jonathan, my computer doesn't work. So Jonathan opens up the software, starts creating a ticket, right? An incident management report, basically, that says this. Calling, it's Kevin. Let's get his details, phone number, whatever. Okay. What's the problem being reported? This problem. He's putting that in the description of the problem. Cool. He writes as much of the description as possible and generates a ticket number for Kevin so that he can come back. It says, Kevin, you have to drop off your laptop. So he puts notes inside of the incident narrative, right? You hear the complexity? He takes notes in the incident narrative, which is, by the way, a living document report, right? That's time-stamped for everything that's being done, right? And he says, yeah, Kevin's going to be dropping off the laptop. He drops it off. He finishes it off. He gives Kevin the incident record number, which is usually something like this: 17. Today's what, the 3rd month, so 03 25 13 36 -00001 or whatever the hell it is. That's the incident management ticket. So he's going to get that usually based on the timestamp, right? Fine. So now he's got the dashboard. The dashboard is a log of all the tickets that are open and active. The log itself can also keep track of tickets that are not open and not active, but they're on the log. They're just invisible. They're filtered out. Okay. Now, desk, right? And it's her job as a service desk analyst now to kind of look at the tickets and route them to the person that has the correct skill to fix them. Eddie, right? So the lead time between the time that Jonathan picked up the ticket or answered the call to the time that Selena is going to pick up the ticket to route it, that's called pickup time, right? So the ticket itself has all these statistics that are built in, and it keeps track of all these things in the database. When Kevin drops off his machine, right? Drop off the machine for the help desk, right? He drops it off to, let's say, for example, Ali's also on the service desk. He looks at the incident record. He goes in, and when he goes in there, he says, owner dropped off laptop. That goes in the incident record, right? The narrative is timestamped. Now that Selena sees that, she can route that information, takes the laptop, and she can route it for testing and dispatch it to someone who needs to test it and fix it, some kind of a technician. And he changed the status from assigned to Eddie to in progress, where he's actually fixing it, right? He looks at the laptop, realizes that the battery's just dead, right? Makes an update to the narrative, right? Calls back Kevin to say, yeah, I found that your battery is dead. To replace the battery, it's going to cost you this much money. It's covered by the service desk fees that you're paying, right? Come pick up your laptop, right? As he changed the status of the ticket from in progress to resolved. I haven't closed it off yet until Kevin comes in, looks at his laptop and tests it. And when he tests it, he can confirm that everything's working. And then we close the ticket. We change the status from resolved to closed. From new, signed, to in progress, to resolve, to closed, has lead time between each state, right? Get that part. Like I said, you need 5 or 6 people to manage this project for 3 weeks to try and get something like this knocked out. Not everyone can do it. Did I tell you the complexity enough? Have you heard the complexity? See the levels that we're talking about? There's no extra marks for doing the incident management piece. But it's definitely something you can put on your portfolio. Someone can say something like this: yeah, my class and I, in one semester and over a course of 4 weeks, built an incident management system. Right? Or even my team and I built a survey system, that we built. Or even my class and I built a brackets tournament kind of system that we built in class. Be responsive, every one of them, okay, and all of them must have a NoSQL backend. Okay, I'm just giving you some examples here of this stuff. Let's go back to just to give some more details here. All apps must be live and hosted on some kind of a backend server, except for this one. This one here, if it's not hosted live, it's okay, because this one's going to be hosted on an actual device. Or if you're going to choose some kind of movie, TV, mobile option, something like that, a device. All right, so we're going to be talking about that with Ionic, right? So some difficulty around doing that as well, deploying 2 devices. And when you do your presentation, you're going to have to show it on your device. The difficulty on that part. You will have core functionality requirements as well, specific criteria for your type of web app. Okay, let's take a look at common requirements. Each web app will share these common requirements. Okay, your web app must be designed using well-structured semantic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and implement a responsive front end. Guess what? You can use my code base, right, for this. So the stuff I've done with up to lesson 10, let's say today, you can use my code base as a start. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Destroy than to build. So you can always take my code base and rip it apart and then keep whatever you like and get rid of the rest. It's okay, as a good start. It's going to help you from an engineering perspective because it takes a lot of work to get this all done, right? Now you can modify. You have to heavily modify it so that the styling looks correct for what you're building. Why there's a need of a designer. Your CSS rules reside in separate files. That's all part of the structure. Your JavaScript files and libraries have their external and other external code are contained in their own folders. Your images and multimedia files are kept in their folder. All this is handled. You get all free marks if you use my code base. Your MongoDB database, right? And I'll put in there, or Firebase, right? Must be hosted online, right? So don't try and use something that's local, like your Mongo on your machine, not meeting requirements. Note, it is recommended that you use a provider like MLab, Google Cloud Platform for Firebase, Amazon Web Services, or Microsoft Azure, and they have something called DocumentDB. I think it's document with a lowercase d. Does that make sense? Trying to give you some options, some stuff. Okay, internal documentation as normal. You know me, what I'm looking for. All the authors' names, website information, all that stuff. Make sure that your section headers in your HTML, in this case CSS, everywhere has your names on it. Contextual variable names, inline comments, all that stuff is what I'm going to be looking for internal documentation. An external document must be included. The responsibility of the designer for week 1. You need to have a company logo, table of contents, a detailed description of your app. What are you making? Some wireframes to describe what your app will look like. I don't need screen captures right now because you don't have anything to show me for next week, but there will be an update for the external document in the coming weeks. All right. And as well, you don't have to do potential future functionality because next week you're just starting it off, so we don't know. And there's other things that I'm going to be asking of you as we go forward I do want an idea of what fonts you're going to be using on your site, and the color styles and all that kind of stuff should be included in your external document. Okay. Share your files on GitHub to demonstrate version control best practices and some kind of cloud host like we talked about before, whether it's Heroku, which I recommend, or Azure, which has been a real pain lately, right? So for Node especially. So I think Heroku might be a little easier for a lot of you. You know, Tom, I only can have 5 apps on Heroku with my free account, but I need to put in some kind of credit card. Yeah, you can put in a credit card. Heroku's not going to charge you for anything free. Okay, so even if you put credit card information, I've had my credit card in with Heroku for years. All right. They just want to verify who you are. So they don't want to, and they also want to send you the occasional email saying, hey, look, we've been giving you free services for a while. You know, what do you think? Right? Can you read this email? You know what? I'll gladly read their email for what they've given me. So that's all they do. I think it's worthwhile, and it's a great professional customers. So that's the requirement for all apps. All apps must have those things. As well as, let's take a look at some specifics, and I won't go through all of them. So, you know, this is what happens, right? Someone picks the survey site and they want to make it, you know, for Angular. They don't want to do Angular, right? Because Angular is an option. The options go to someone who's going to do the incident management site. Why? Now, I'm not telling you that they have to do that, but people that do the survey site traditionally don't even go with Angular. They don't want complexity, so they keep it simple, and they don't get the bonus. Those people who usually take the survey site need the bonus because they're not doing so good, right, in the class. But they don't. The people who get the bonus are the people who don't need it. Website because they're that good, right? It's the way bonuses work, unfortunately. It's like the people who get the bonus actually people that don't need the bonus, right? Quite often. So let's look at the survey site. User registration must be included. By the way, user registration is required for all of your. That's actually, this should be part of the other section, but it varies in marks. So that's why I kind of put it in here. In this case, for the survey site, to enter profile information, user password, address, and email address, which will be stored in a Mongo database structure or in Firebase. So you don't need a username, just email address, password, and display name. Those are the 3 things you need. We'll talk about that today. The user will be able to log in, log out, modify his or her profile, reset his password, all that stuff. Site security will prevent any non-registered user from creating a survey or entering secure areas of the site. Next week. How do you set that up? Set up a dummy page next week so that I can't get to, but only when you're logged in. Done. Your requirements taken care of for next week. Some kind of dummy page. It says you've reached the survey page. That's all I need for next week. However, the landing page must be completed for next week. So the landing page has to look pretty slick, as best you can make it for 1 week that you're working with the stuff you have, right? But that and user management and your external document really at the end of the day are the only things you need to have done for next week. Okay. Create a survey. Only if you're registered and logged in. You can create a survey based on 1 or 2 possible survey templates. Please keep it simple. Either example, multiple choice, short answer, something, right? Please don't try and mix and match answers or dynamically allocate how many answers the person can have. Fixed number. So everyone answers 10 questions. There's no option. You can't do surveys that have 5 questions, only 10 questions, right? This because it makes it easier. Less options means less functionality because this is supposed to be a straightforward little thing that may be mastered. Please don't try and put 5 people on the survey set. I will rip your team in half, right? All right, if you choose this option, all right, because it's just not enough. There's not enough for everyone to do. 3 people, engineer, designer, to go with the survey, right? That's a good size for a survey, right? The user should be able to customize survey questions. This includes the question text and the response options. The user should be able to create a lifetime for the survey, example, how long it's going to live, when it becomes active, and when it dies, right? And respond to any active survey on the main page, right? They should be able to go there and respond, right? And then there should be a reporting section, a secure reporting section where only the owner of the survey, so you can have many users of the survey site, can create their own surveys, but only the owner owner of the survey, the one that created the survey, has access to the analysis. And we're talking very simple analysis, like what's the average, percent to this question being answered over the people that answered the questions, right? That kind of thing. And also, somehow the statistics have to be able to be exported in some way, emailed, printed, exported to Excel somehow. That's it for the survey. Okay, very simple. So making surveys, people can answer the surveys, you can get responses to surveys, you can do analysis on surveys. That's it. You want, if you made a survey site, you want to get analysis, get some feedback on what happened, right? The tourney bracket site will prevent you from creating a tournament, right? Once you create a tournament, you're managing it. After users registered and logged in, the new single elimination tournament can be made. Okay, no double elimination. Don't try and make a weird combination of elimination. Make sure that the when you create a tournament, you're considered the owner and can choose when it becomes active and when it's completed. Okay. Users can register players. Don't make it so it's auto registration. If you really want to, you can. And let's say, for example, you say, like, Tom, I went above and beyond here on some of these options, and I don't just register users, but I had created a self-registration, and they kind of register the users, and then I can make an active automatically. Anything extra you do, you write that in your response. Every week we get together, you're going to say, here are the extras that we did this week. Cool, I like that one, or it's not really an extra, whatever, and then you get bonus marks right there. Okay. So an active tournament will display a list of players to anonymous users, right? So there will be a fixed number of tournament bouts, initially 4 bouts for 8 players, 8 bouts for 16 players, and so on. Opponent selection for each bout will be decided in player registration order. If you want to make it randomized order, randomized selection, all that kind of stuff every round, that's bonuses. Those are extra features. Try not to do that right away. I would recommend a product for week 2, not next week, but the week after. So we're talking about week 1 stuff, which is your registration page, your user security, that kind of stuff in your main page. Your alpha release, which is your minimum viable product, your first runnable, if you will. And actually, it's a compressed schedule because typically we have more weeks like this. We don't just do it like within a week. We do it like pieces, right? So the initial release, the one that works, will be not next week, but the week after, like a full running, your full running code, which means you don't have a lot of time here. Tournament management. Tournament can be started only after all players have been registered and the initial bouts determined. A tournament will include a fixed number of rounds. Okay, so don't try and make it so it's fluid. There will be. I do want for you to do a bronze match, and it's not enough. I want you to do 3rd and 4th because I want to see the numbers. So there should be at the end who won what, that 2nd place, and so on. Each tournament round will be displayed as a separate form page. Now notice on challenge, it's one big graphic. I'm asking you to do it on a separate page because it's easier. One big graphic and make it beautiful, all the power to you, right? But it's more difficult to do. All right, so please be careful about this. Each form page, notice that I've given you 3 marks for this because each round is a page, right? The tournament owner will be able to select the winners for each bout in every round. So when you have the people listed on your each of the form pages, you choose which ones win. Okay. Again, could you make this more complex? Absolutely. For example, you can make other people decide who wins, and then the winnings are decided automatically for you. That's an option. That's a bonus, and there has to be logic behind that. Winners will be carried forward into new bouts for each successive round. The losers lose. There's only single elimination. They don't have a chance to play. There's no losers round for like 8th, 9th, and 10th place. No. None of that. They're out, they're out. One lost, they're out. When the final round is completed, a summary of the results will be displayed. All right, for everyone to see. All right, movie TV tracker we're working on. I'm going to get back to this later on. So I'll come back to this option. Let's talk about the incident management. Again, a lot of detail here. User registration, site security to be able to create tickets, change tickets, post a comment, seeing the incident log, anything like that. You have to be logged in. Dashboard that shows all of the tickets, again, only if you're registered and logged in. And the dashboard will include an option allows the user to create a new incident. Those will be initially hidden, but an option on the dashboard will allow the user to view all incidents. You can create an incident record. If you're really interested in doing that, we can talk about it. You can also do incident management. And this is where the meat and bones is. You don't get a lot of marks here, but there's a lot of details on how to move things from one state in order for you to resolve the incident, from the incident's life to death, right? So lots of stuff involved here. Work as always, and you've got a little bit of an idea of what it's worth. 60 points, 20 points per week. So you're done. Let's say you finished off your project, everything's fantastic. And then on week 14, on the Saturday, the 22nd, right? There's going to be materials for presentation. So I'm looking for some kind of slide deck from you guys, whether it's a point or some kind of slides from Google or whatever, Keynote, whatever you want to use. Please do not use Prezi. Okay, I know people are crazy about using Prezi these days and making flashy websites. I don't recommend it. Just keep professional. Your presentation document looks like it belongs to your team, that it's not something that's taken off. I don't want templates, right? I want you to make your own. And it's a good practice for you anyway, because this is going to happen in the real world. You're going to present your project. Not everyone has to speak on the presentation piece, but there will be a screencast as well, right? So just in case we have some kind of, I don't know, it's April, snow day, I don't want to say it, right? Power outage, something like that that's going to happen. It won't stop us from doing the exam, and it gives you a chance to practice ahead of time. So there will be a screencast. The person who does the presentation live that day is not the same person who does a screencast, to give everyone a chance to earn their marks and everything else. The screencast is simply a practice session where you get together and talk about you're going to step through your presentation, you're going to demonstrate your app, and I'm going to give you another presentation document around that as we come closer, the requirements around that. I would start making that now for the following slides, an intro, like kind of an intro slide on, hey, we are this team, and we made, right? Have a team page. Team page is, hi, I'm Selena. I'm the designer. I'm Eddie. I'm the engineer. I'm Jonathan. I'm the project manager. I'm whoever. I'm Tyler, and I'm the QA analyst. Whatever. And we've come together to make this this product. What we're making. We made this kind of stuff. We chose the incident management side or the brackets side, or we talked to Tom, and with a bit of work, we worked out something else. And when I say something else, I mean it's got to be approved. So it's got to be meaty enough. Whatever you're making makes sense. It can't be worth make than anything else I've talked about. If it is, your idea will be rejected. Not because I don't want to give you some flexibility, but because it's difficult for me to mark, right? I got to be able to mark it, so it's got to be relative at the same level as everybody else, right? So that's why I'm working with Aaron on what his idea was. He was insisting that him and Omid had this idea. Again, I won't approve it until I'm going to upload them. I need to see your file. I'm going to upload them shortly, right? As soon as I'm done. So that's really the presentation in a nutshell. You're going to present your your team and your product, right? You're going to be talking about so here's our wireframe. This is where we started. Here's the final product. This is what it looks like, some screenshots. And then, okay, without further ado, let's test this out. Everybody go on this particular site, product live. Let's go. So you have a little bit of time. Okay, if you see here, this is how the product works. This is how you create it. And you want to show the main functionality of your product in a short time. You have 10 minutes to present your presentation as well as demo your product, right? It's like a pitch, if you will, for your app, okay? Don't worry, I'm going to give you a whole document right now. I'm going to give you a presentation, don't worry. Separate document for what's required, okay? So again, the presentation, I don't want to see a lot of walls of text. Okay, I don't want to look at presentation and go, oh my God, there's like tons of text here, you know, that about what everything else. I want to see images. I want to see screen, you know, kind of screenshots. Remember that we're dealing within a visual medium, people who make games as well as people who make websites and apps, right? So please keep it bullet pointed, right? Keep it bullet points to the point. Talk about it. Know what you're saying. Make sure that you're you know, you have a script of what you're talking about. Don't just ad lib. I'm not going to accept that, because your presentation is going to be based on materials and your presentation value, which is you speaking loudly enough so people can hear you, as well as everything else. Again, I will document all these things, all these requirements as we get closer to your final presentation. And soon. Thank you, Benzer. Any questions around the project, right, or concerns? I know there's a lot of other stuff going on, and that's why I'm making it so that, you know, you're I'm giving it to you so that you have it broken out over a few pieces, so it's not so difficult. Complexity perspective, and I've still got a question mark around the movie TV tracker. I'm thinking again, maybe a maximum of 3 people or something like that. You got to figure there's about 3 people here. I can see 4 people here. I can see 5 people here. People is going to be hard for me to see. You're going to have to basically really justify why you need 6 people, right? I've left it open just in case, because I can't change group sizes when I make my groups afterwards. I've got a bunch of groups, so we're going to take a short break, and when we over the break, I want you to organize yourselves, if you haven't done it already, in groups. Come around. I want to get your idea. If you have a group name or an idea of what you want to work on, I want to get that from you so I can modify it. Everything you're going to be doing is going to be submitted in the group Dropbox, so it won't be something that you can submit by yourself. Any questions or concerns at all? Okay, let's take a short break, and we come back. We'll start into this the technical aspect. There's no 3,000 words. There's no 3,000 words. It's a presentation.